I'm here with Jan from Paws. Hey, Jan.
Hey Craig, how are you?
Pretty good. So coming
Good.
into summer, and I understand you
Yes.
had a pretty busy summer, but not the kind of busyness that we all want to hope for. So you want to talk about it a little bit because I know that forms what you want to talk about today.
Yeah, at the beginning of the summer was kind of hectic. Both my parents don't live where I live, and they both took falls, and so I had to fly down and take care of them for 3 weeks. And I was truly the caretaker, like everything from wound dressing changes to, cooking meals and cleaning and shopping and everything and organizing healthcare and medical care and people to come in. And thankfully, they're both all right. But it was the shuffling and sort of the getting of them settled and being in this sort of surreal almost role of the caretaker, which thankfully I've been lucky enough not to have to do thus far.
Mm-hmm. And then also you had your pets. I sorry.
Yeah, I mean, period. Through the years, not recently. I mean, I have different role caretaking now for three somewhat, animals that have normal everyday type issues, but nothing. But in the past, I mean, I took care of a dog that lived to 19, so I had um, the long role of being the elder pet care parent, and then one of my cats who became very ill, and so I did care for him for over a year at home. And so I think it's an interesting role to have to play all of a sudden, and a hard role.
Sure, the role of caretaker for a pet.
Mm-hmm. A caretaker for anyone, and I think pets the same as people. Yeah.
Sure. And I saw on your blog you kind of put down a few things about what you thought were important insights that you gleaned from this experience. So you want to kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is there are like two things I think I took home from everything that I've had and circumstances with people and animals. And one was remember when you're making any decision regarding the pet or your animal, and any decision even regarding any loved one at all, is to remember you're the one involved and they're the one involved. They are the ones involved. So for my animals, you look at the animal and sort of their disposition and how high strung they are and what kind of, sort of personality they have, so to speak. And then your own. And I think you have to really take that into consideration when you're formulating a decision or making any sort of healthcare or wellness care choices. Because if you have a very, very, very high strung animal, a very anxious animal, putting them through undue testing or situations like vet visit after vet visit, or all these different things just causes more stress and more anxiety. So I think that you really have to. It made me look at my animals and really look at them sort of as who they are, individuals, and realize that I might do something for one animal that I might not do for another animal in my household, based on sort of like how they are and what their personalities were. So that was a really something I sort of really, I thought I gleaned from the situation. The other thing was I started to look at everything that would happen with my animal, or, so I started to keep like lists of questions I had and things that would come up between vet visits or healthcare visits for my animals if it wasn't a vet. So if I was taking them to the acupuncturist or something, I started to really keep track of any changes that they had, any questions I had regarding their condition. Because what I found was I'd get in the office and then I would forget, or I would be focused on the animal and trying to make sure that they were not only, behaving properly and doing everything that I needed them to do, that sometimes my mind was not necessarily focused on really what I had wanted to ask. So keeping a list was really important for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that realizing that you're the one who has to do whatever the health professional is asking you to do for your animal. Mm-hmm. So a different example was one of my cats had a condition, and they was asked to give the cat pills twice a day. Now, it took two technicians 20 minutes to give him a pill. And I thought to myself, well, there has to be a way I can do this. That's otherwise because if I have to pill him, it's just not going to happen. So I think you have to look at whatever the health professional is asking you to perform or to do for your animal, and really not in a critical way, but look at yourself and say, can I do this?
Yeah.
And when I do this, am I going to be causing my animal, my loved animal, undue like sort of anxiety and stress? And is it going to be creating more problem than it's worth?
Yeah.
So I think that was really important for me.
Yeah. You know, we had two cats, brothers, and last year one of them, we were away, and one of them passed while we were away. We had somebody who was coming in and let us know that the cat passed, and so that was sort of relatively easy to deal with because the cat made its own decision to go.
Right.
The other brother sort of hung on through a move and to where we are now, and then he just was quickly kind of, or slowly declining, I should say. And we had a vet come in to visit, which made it easier. But the decision had to come where we had to finally put him down. And you know how just traumatic that whole experience is. When you have to go through that, can you talk a little bit about how you prepare yourself for that kind of experience? Because so many things you just don't see it coming.
Yeah, I think it's such a hard decision, and I know I went through that a few times, and sometimes I think for people, you know, sometimes there's two easy ways. One, obviously, they, like you had in the first case where they just pass away and you're sort of so thankful that you haven't had to determine whether it's time for them, you know, to put them to sleep or how, you know, to have them pass to the next life or whatever. But other times it is a financial decision, I think, for people, you know, where people, it's going to be too costly, sadly enough, for them to do what's required to keep their animal going. And then other times, I think I look at it as whether, you know, I remember with my dog, I sort of got inside my dog's head and I sort of looked at her one day and thought to myself, like, I could just see that she wasn't happy. And that if, you know, because she took, you know, at the end, she was so old and her coat was deteriorating and it was falling out. And she was always very proud of sort of like, you could just tell she was very proud of the way she looked. And I thought to myself, she wouldn't want to look like this. Like, she wouldn't want to live like this. And I think it's like when their dignity starts to go. And usually I really think that they start to tell you. It's like they look at you with these eyes of like, I'm ready kind of thing, you know? I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, I guess you wish they could just kind of actually tell you, because you go through a long period of, is it, maybe they're really okay, but you really sense like, you know, I have to really make, and it was really hard. I mean, they were my wife's cats, and, you know, so I only had them for the past couple of years. But, you know, like I say, taking a life of anything, it's really difficult.
Really difficult. And I think that you said it's like, and I think that that's where finally we come to the decision where, you know, who am I doing this for? You know, because I think we all do that. We all want to keep them around as long as possible for ourselves. You know, because, you know, with my animals, I didn't want them to go, sure. You know, but then we finally look at it and we say, like, why am I doing this? Am I doing it, you know, am I keeping them here for me, or do they really want to be here?
Right.
And most of the time then we realize that they really are ready, you know, and we just have to get ready.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's any easy way to do it. I mean, there are some oils that actually, frankincense has been said to help sort of animals sort of come to peace for themselves. So if they're, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I always look at it as a good oil to sort of help the animal sort of be at rest and just be peaceful. Mm-hmm. And I've had a number of people who've used it and then the animals have passed themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's really kind of this peace that comes over, and it's not going to hurt. So definitely isn't going to push an animal to like sort of give up, if, you know, but it is going to help them sort of say, okay, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And so, and I think being the caretaker, one of the last important points is just to remember how important it is to take care of yourself. Because I know that with my dog, who was so old when she passed away, I don't think I slept really well for like I don't even think I realized how I didn't sleep well until after she passed. And I realized that I used to get up in the middle of the night and I used to, make sure she was okay, because at that point she wasn't sleeping with me anymore because she couldn't climb stairs and things like that. So I think the importance that I learned of taking care of yourself and realizing, like, maybe if you have an animal that's housebound, I have a friend whose dog was really ill, and so every day she would rush home from work, is like maybe getting somebody in a few days a week or a day a week who's going to come in and check on the dog so that you can have a little bit, like a night out or something, just to keep your own space and your own sort of like presence of mind, is really important.
And it sounds like, the thing is that the responsibility of having a pet, we all think it's so great. We see a little kitten in the pet store, or somebody's got a basket outside of kittens, or, we find a little puppy. But then we have to remember that they become actual big. They're not the cute little thing that we had. And it's a real responsibility at that point. And we have to really know that going in.
Yes, I think you do, because I think that, it's a responsibility on so many levels. It's a responsibility, obviously, because you're caring for another being.
Yeah.
And they are dependent on you. It's not like, a child that grows up and hopefully moves out of the house and is somewhat independent, even though you're the parent. Animals, really, we fend for them. We take care of them. They're totally dependent on us. And so that's a huge role, a huge responsibility to take. And then the other one is a financial responsibility, which I don't think sometimes people are prepared for. And I think that's why a lot of people end up giving up animals up for adoption, or dropping them off at a shelter, because an animal shelter, because they are not prepared financially for, food costs, vet costs, all the different requirements that happen when you have anything you care for. And, the oils are kind of nice because I get to do a lot of home treatment for myself, not a diagnostician, but I get to address a lot of the common ailments. But yeah, it's a huge responsibility.
Yeah. Well, this has been informative. There's much more in the blog that people can read, so we'll attach that to the video when we post it. And we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Craig. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.